What is up, Earthlings? So I have a bit of a report, and it'll kind of be for the weekend, but um, and again, it's just going to be babbly. But the past few weeks of really, really difficult time, there's a little bit of easing up on that, and it started yesterday. Yesterday, I felt like a space cadet, so in a good way. Um, the sun is closing in on a good aspect to Neptune. Neptune is difficult to define. It is spirituality. It's kind of like at the edge of our, the solar system. And so it's kind of the link between here and the other side. With like difficult Neptune aspects in somebody's birth chart, you would look for addiction and stuff like that, because Neptune rules escape, but it also could be like spirituality. So because you can escape into God or the universe or like your spiritual practice, or you can escape into like drugs and alcohol. Sometimes Neptune transits will almost feel like disassociated or like disembodied or spacey or kind of like out there. You could write like good poetry or have like really good breakthroughs, doesn't feel like the word, but you can have very your thoughts, like your spiritual thoughts. So not really like your mind, but will flow a little better. And in a trine with the sun in Scorpio, and these are both in water signs. So we're like emotional, kind of flowing, especially if you're with people that you mesh with. There can be a really strong connection there. It's a good time to connect. Anyway, so we have Neptune. Why am I laughing? I don't even know. We have Neptune and the sun aspect. Wait, I wrote them down here. Oh, and then the sun is also in a sextile to Pluto. That's building up as well. Over the weekend, it'll become more. But Pluto, remember, well, we were having all those difficult, I assume sometimes people don't watch all these videos and you catch pieces, whatever, fill in the blanks, like use your filler inner to, or just skip over what you might have missed last time. But the planets were making difficult aspects to Pluto, and now the sun is making a good aspect, a supportive aspect to Pluto, is moving into it. And so subconscious thoughts are things that have been kind of like haunting us or felt really stuck. We might be able to make some powerful changes in that area, and especially with this Neptune alignment going on at the same time. They can kind of support each other. So you might have like an aha, like an emotional or a spiritual aha, like I get it, with regards to other people and projection and stuff like that. Like, and it might not be things that are easy to explain. However, Mercury and Mars are going to oppose Uranus. And Uranus is like higher thinking, not necessarily the busy mind. So there really could be some like kind of electricity or sudden, like where you can suddenly like share find a way to explain, like, oh, I figured out how to explain this, like what I'm feeling. But you might finally find the words. That'll probably be like in the net. Yeah, it's closer to Sunday, but basically things are easing up a bit, and the moon is going to be going through Pisces until noon on Sunday Central Time, right about maybe anyway, but yeah, midway through Sunday. The moon will be in Pisces and it'll link up with Neptune there. The there's we could get a little bit lost, but in a good way, we've kind of earned that shit. Um, I like to share sort of what comes to me in meditations because that's how I do these. And I ask, for like things that'll like visuals or something that'll make sense. Well, one thing that came in, and this is in regards to Mars and Mercury, who just squared off with Saturn. And that was difficult for many people that I have spoken to. And that was last week. Um, Mars and Mercury are like what I was a cheerleader in high school, and we had this cheer. Um, oh yeah, that's all right. That's okay. Just shake it off. Just shake it off. So Mars and Mercury are kind of like, ooh, those commercials where they're, or not commercials, but cartoons where they're like, ooh. That's what Mars and Mercury are doing. They've squared off with Saturn, and however you felt restricted, maybe, or like there's been an obstacle or something that you have to overcome, or some sort of something impeding where you want to go or what you want to say, or being true to you for the most part. And then they're done with that. And so we may have refined ourselves, or however we're going to approach the thing that like we wanted to do. Saturn really just wants us to do it right, is all. But um the oh my gosh, those kids upstairs are so noisy. I don't know if you can hear that. I have on my little mic thing, but anyway, so where was I? Oh yeah. So after that square with Saturn, they're going to be opposing Uranus. Um, and that is like a sudden inspiration, or like a higher thinking, like you may just transcend something, honestly, that was really bothering you, and suddenly be like, well, okay, why was that such a big deal to me? I get that sense a little bit. And some of this may linger. We are coming into eclipse season. It's going to be kind of, just like that. But anyway, that's that. So look for journal. Pisces is a good time for like sitting, and I think I'm going to do a whole nother video on that. But I really, I've been kind of thinking, I'm trying to think of another word, but I've been contemplating meditation, and that it's just so valuable. And the word is really loaded, but there are so many ways that you can go about it. But the important thing, is sitting in quiet, you know. I do a lot of things where I talk to myself, like I visualize and I imagine, stepping outside and talking to myself. And all of those tools that I started using came to me through meditation, plus reading books and ideas that I would get from other people. But I just feel like, especially for the way that things are, that sitting and being quiet and coming into our own center, I want to say being in quiet, because you're going to think, like, that's okay. That's to be expected. And the way that it goes, the way that it went for me in the beginning, was that the thoughts would come, and I kept giving up on meditation, basically, because I was like, I can't do it. I just think too much. Um, but then I stuck with it. And when the thoughts would go through, I would practice being a further back me that was just observing the thoughts, or sometimes it would be, and I think is like my higher self, the observer, like the person, the being watching the thoughts. And just kind of going, like never, there was no like talking from guides or anything like that in the very beginning, but it was like, oh, uh-huh, okay. Oh, yeah. Like it was like a that's interesting, or oh, like it would even be like a that's cute vibe, like, oh look, she's worried about that. I don't know. And like then I was like okay with the thoughts being there. And then it got to a point, probably 4 or 5 months into my practice. I'm guessing, but it took a while. I still started to see the benefits sooner than that. I started seeing the benefits and really wanting to extend my meditation pretty quickly. But I've shared this with a lot of people. I started 1 minute a month and I wouldn't let myself race ahead because I knew I would give up too easily. And I did that for 10 months. But, anyways, there's that. I really feel like just sitting and being, even if it's with your fucking overactive mind, is so beneficial right now. And don't even call it meditation. But anyway, so when I was in meditation, I got the shake it off thing about Mars and Mercury. So we're kind of like shaking it off, and that started yesterday. And then Winnie the Pooh, and I was like, what? Winnie the Pooh. And I was over here at my desk and I remembered I had a book, The Tao of Pooh. And I like bibliomancy too, which is kind of like tarot reading, but you open up a book to just a random page. And here's where I got. A saying from the area of Chinese medicine would be appropriate to mention here. One disease, long life. No disease, short life. In other words, those who know what's wrong with them and take care of themselves accordingly will tend to live a lot longer than those who consider themselves perfectly healthy and neglect their weaknesses. So, in that sense, at least, a weakness of some sort can do you a big favor if you acknowledge that it's there. The same goes for one's limitations, whether Tigers know it or not, and Tigers usually don't. That's the trouble with Tigers, they can do everything very unhealthy. Once you face and understand your limitations, you can work with them instead of having them work against you and get in your way, which is what they do when you ignore them, whether you realize it or not. And then you will find that in many cases, your limitations can be your strengths. And that I was just like, wow, because that's what Pluto is trying. That's what Pluto generally gets us to look at, and we've just gone through this like mind fuck is what popped up for me. Like it's just been a mind fuck. And physically too, I think we're, especially if you're prone to anxiety. It's just been a physically exhausting time. I've been doing this a lot, like just trying to kind of move things around, and because I've been pretty tense. I think that's all I had for today, but I really wanted to share that with you. I feel a lot better, and it feels like a like a collective sort of as always, I'm this is going to be different in everyone's individual chart. It's been hitting mine specifically pretty roughly. But if you are interested in a personal reading, reach out. The information is below. I do astrology or tarot, and I hope you have a great weekend on Earth. Peace. Namaste.